Can I get Serena Williams to open up about her Wimbledon loss? For nearly 3 decades, Serena Williams has been one of the most recognizable and influential athletes in the world. Her name is synonymous with excellence, determination, and greatness. She has won championships, shattered records, and inspired millions of people across generations. Whether someone follows tennis closely or only watches major sporting events, chances are they know exactly who Serena Williams is. That is why her return to Wimbledon captured the attention of the entire sports world. Fans filled center court with anticipation. Television audiences around the globe tuned in. Former champions, commentators, and fellow players watched closely as Serena stepped onto one of the most famous courts in sports history. For many people, it felt like a moment they never expected to see again. After years away from Grand Slam singles competition, Serena Williams was back. The excitement surrounding her return was impossible to ignore. Social media exploded with reactions. Sports networks dedicated hours of coverage to her comeback. Tennis analysts debated her chances of making a deep run in the tournament. The atmosphere surrounding Wimbledon suddenly felt different. Serena's return wasn't just another match on the schedule. It was an event. But while fans hoped to witness another magical chapter in one of the greatest careers tennis has ever seen, reality quickly reminded everyone how difficult elite competition can be. Serena's comeback ended in disappointment when she lost a hard-fought match to rising Australian player Maya Joint in the first round of Wimbledon. The match showcased flashes of the power, determination, and fighting spirit that made Serena a legend, but it also highlighted the challenges of returning to the sport after several years away. For many fans, the defeat was emotional. They had spent weeks imagining a storybook return. Instead, they were left wondering what came next. Yet the biggest headlines did not focus solely on the loss. Instead, attention quickly shifted to what happened afterward. When the match ended, media members prepared for Serena's post-match press conference. Normally, this is where players discuss the match, answer questions, explain their mindset, and share their plans for the future. Reporters gathered. Questions were prepared. Cameras were ready. But Serena never appeared. Suddenly, confusion spread throughout the media center. Where was Serena? Why wasn't she speaking? Had something happened? The absence immediately became one of the biggest stories of the tournament. Without an immediate explanation, speculation began spreading across social media and sports news outlets. Some believed Serena simply needed time to process the defeat. Others suggested she was frustrated by the outcome. A few critics questioned whether skipping media responsibilities was appropriate. The conversation quickly moved beyond tennis and into a broader debate about athlete obligations and media expectations. For hours, nobody seemed to have a complete answer. And when information is limited, speculation often fills the gap. Fans searched online for clues. Commentators offered theories. Articles appeared attempting to explain the situation. The mystery only fueled public interest. Eventually, more information emerged. According to reports from Serena's representatives, she had suffered a right knee injury during the match. Medical staff from Wimbledon and the WTA reportedly excused her from mandatory media obligations due to the injury, meaning she would not face penalties for missing the press conference. That explanation changed the conversation significantly. What initially appeared to be a controversial decision now seemed connected to a physical issue sustained during competition. The news also raised another important question. Just how difficult had Serena's comeback really been? To answer that question, it's necessary to understand the road that brought her back to Wimbledon in the first place. For years, many believed Serena's career had effectively come to an end. After stepping away from professional tennis, she focused on family, business ventures, and life beyond the court. She became involved in numerous successful projects and embraced a different chapter of her life. By all appearances, retirement seemed permanent. Yet elite competitors often possess something difficult to explain. The desire to compete never fully disappears. The thrill of walking onto a court. The challenge of facing an opponent. The pursuit of excellence. These experiences become part of who they are. In Serena's case, that competitive fire eventually led her back to tennis. Reports indicated that one of the motivations behind her return was the opportunity for her children to see her compete at the highest level. The idea of sharing that experience with her family carried significant meaning. The comeback process was not easy. Returning to professional sports after several years away presents enormous challenges. Athletes must rebuild physical conditioning. Timing must be regained. Confidence must be restored. The body must adapt once again to the demands of elite competition. At 44 years old, Serena faced obstacles that would discourage most athletes. Yet she returned anyway. That decision alone earned admiration from many people throughout the sports world. Even fellow professionals expressed respect for the effort required. The return wasn't about proving anything to critics. For many observers, it seemed driven by a genuine love for the game. And perhaps that is why the Wimbledon loss resonated so deeply. People weren't simply watching a tennis player lose a match. They were watching a legend pursue one more challenge. They were witnessing someone willing to risk disappointment in order to chase a dream. That takes courage. Not everyone appreciated the circumstances surrounding Serena's missed press conference. Some journalists argued that media obligations are part of professional sports. Others felt that athletes who receive special opportunities, such as wildcard entries, should make themselves available after matches. Critics questioned whether skipping the press conference sent the wrong message. Supporters viewed the situation differently. They pointed to the reported knee injury. They noted Serena's long history of media availability throughout her career. And they argued that athletes deserve flexibility when dealing with physical setbacks. The debate highlighted a larger issue in modern sports. What exactly do athletes owe the media? And what responsibilities does the media have toward athletes? This conversation has existed for decades. Professional athletes rely on media coverage to help grow their sports and connect with fans. At the same time, athletes often face intense scrutiny. They answer repetitive questions. They revisit painful defeats. They endure criticism from people who have never competed at their level. Balancing those realities is not always easy. Serena Williams has experienced both sides of that relationship throughout her career. She has participated in countless press conferences. She has answered difficult questions. She has faced criticism, praise, and everything in between. As one of the most famous athletes in the world, she understands media attention better than almost anyone. That reality made her Wimbledon absence especially notable. People expected her to speak, because she almost always has. When she didn't appear, it immediately became news. Even after the injury explanation emerged, discussion continued. Some fans accepted the explanation immediately. Others remained skeptical. The story continued generating headlines long after the match had ended. Yet amid all the debate, one fact remained clear. Serena's return itself had already become one of the most memorable stories of Wimbledon. The standing ovation she received demonstrated the immense respect fans continue to have for her accomplishments and legacy. Even in defeat, the crowd celebrated her presence and everything she has contributed to tennis. That moment may ultimately become more significant than any controversy surrounding the press conference. Because when people look back on Serena Williams' career, they are unlikely to remember one missed media session. They will remember the championships, the records, the rivalries, the unforgettable performances, and perhaps they will remember a legendary champion who returned to Wimbledon one more time because she still loved the game. As questions continue surrounding her future, fans remain curious. Will Serena compete again? Will she continue playing doubles? Could another singles appearance be on the horizon? Right now, nobody knows for certain. But one thing remains undeniable. Whenever Serena Williams steps onto a tennis court, the world pays attention. And that is a testament to the extraordinary impact she has had on sports history. Part 2. To fully understand why Serena Williams' Wimbledon loss generated so much attention, it's important to appreciate the remarkable legacy she built long before this latest chapter unfolded. For more than 2 decades, Serena dominated professional tennis in a way few athletes have ever dominated their respective sports. She wasn't simply winning tournaments. She was redefining what greatness looked like. Every time she stepped onto the court, expectations followed. Opponents knew they were facing one of the most accomplished competitors in history. Fans expected excellence. Broadcasters prepared for unforgettable moments. Serena carried the weight of enormous expectations throughout her career, and somehow, she continued to deliver. That pressure can be difficult to comprehend. Most athletes spend their careers trying to reach the top. Serena spent much of her career trying to stay there. That difference matters. Remaining at the highest level year after year requires a unique combination of physical ability, mental toughness, discipline, and resilience. Injuries happen. Younger competitors emerge. Motivation fluctuates. Yet Serena repeatedly found ways to adapt and succeed. Those qualities helped transform her into more than a champion. They made her a symbol of perseverance. Many people who followed Serena's career weren't just inspired by her victories. They were inspired by how she handled adversity. There were injuries. There were setbacks. There were disappointing losses. There were moments when critics doubted her ability to return to the top. Again and again, she responded by proving people wrong. That history is part of the reason her recent Wimbledon appearance carried so much emotional significance. Fans have seen Serena overcome challenges before. They've watched her battle through injuries. They've witnessed remarkable comebacks. Because of that history, many supporters entered Wimbledon believing that another magical run might be possible. Hope is powerful. In sports, hope often fuels belief even when circumstances appear difficult. For Serena's fans, that belief never fully disappeared. Even after years away from Grand Slam singles competition, many remained convinced that she could still produce something special. That optimism contributed to the excitement surrounding her return. The atmosphere wasn't simply about nostalgia. It was about possibility. People wondered whether Serena still had one more unforgettable moment left in her career. Could she surprise everyone? Could she make another deep tournament run? Could she once again remind the world why she became one of the most celebrated athletes of all time? Those questions created enormous anticipation. As tournament week approached, coverage intensified. Sports networks aired special segments examining her return. Former players shared opinions. Journalists analyzed her preparation. Social media discussions exploded with predictions and reactions. The excitement wasn't limited to tennis fans. Casual sports viewers became interested as well. That's one of the unique qualities Serena possesses. Her influence extends beyond tennis. People who rarely watch the sport still recognize her name. They understand her significance. They know they're watching history whenever she competes. That level of recognition is rare. Only a handful of athletes ever achieve it. When Serena finally stepped onto the court, the atmosphere reflected that reality. Crowds cheered loudly. Spectators captured every moment. Commentators discussed the significance of the occasion. For a brief period, it felt as though the entire tennis world was focused on one match. Yet competition has a way of humbling even the greatest champions. No matter how impressive an athlete's accomplishments may be, every match begins at zero. Every opponent believes they have a chance. Every point must be earned. That reality is what makes sports compelling. Past achievements don't guarantee future victories. Serena understood that better than anyone. Throughout her career, she repeatedly emphasized the importance of focusing on the present rather than dwelling on previous accomplishments. Championships won years ago cannot help during a difficult rally. Records don't automatically secure victories. Only performance matters. As the match progressed, Serena fought hard. There were moments that reminded fans of the player who dominated the sport for so many years. Powerful serves, aggressive returns, determined movement, competitive intensity. Those familiar qualities were still visible. At the same time, the challenges of returning to elite competition were also apparent. Professional tennis continues evolving. Younger players arrive with confidence, athleticism, and ambition. The competition remains relentless. Every generation produces athletes eager to establish themselves. Facing those challenges after several years away is incredibly difficult. Yet Serena embraced the challenge anyway. That willingness to compete may be one of the most admirable aspects of her comeback. She didn't return because success was guaranteed. She returned despite uncertainty. That distinction matters. Many people prefer situations where outcomes feel predictable. Athletes often operate differently. They accept uncertainty. They understand risk. They recognize that failure is possible. And they compete anyway. Serena's Wimbledon appearance reflected that mindset. Regardless of the result, she was willing to test herself against the best players in the world. That takes confidence. It also takes courage. Following the loss, reactions varied. Some fans expressed disappointment. Others focused on the positives. Many simply appreciated the opportunity to watch Serena compete again. Social media quickly filled with tributes celebrating her career. Former players praised her influence. Commentators reflected on her legacy. The discussion became about more than one match. It became about everything she has accomplished throughout her career. That perspective is important. Athletes are often judged by their most recent performance. Legacies are built over years, sometimes decades. One loss cannot erase a lifetime of achievement. One difficult tournament cannot diminish the impact an athlete has had on their sport. Serena's legacy remains secure regardless of what happens next. The records speak for themselves. The championships speak for themselves. The influence speaks for itself. Few athletes have changed their sport as dramatically as Serena changed tennis. Her success inspired countless young players. Her visibility expanded the sport's reach. Her achievements demonstrated what was possible through dedication and perseverance. Those contributions extend far beyond statistics. They helped shape the future of tennis. As conversations about Wimbledon continued, another theme began emerging. people started discussing what Serena's return represented on a personal level. For many years, professional sports often framed retirement as a permanent endpoint. Athletes competed. They retired. The story ended. Modern sports increasingly challenge that narrative. Athletes today often explore multiple chapters within their careers. Some return after retirement. Others pursue different opportunities before coming back. The traditional timeline has become more flexible. Serena's comeback fits within that broader trend. Her return reminds people that careers don't always follow predictable paths. Sometimes individuals rediscover passions they thought they had left behind. Sometimes new motivations emerge. Sometimes unfinished goals continue calling. Whether Serena's return ultimately leads to additional tournaments remains uncertain. What is certain is that her willingness to return created a memorable moment for fans around the world. Even people who never expected to see her compete again had the opportunity to watch one more chapter unfold. That opportunity carries value regardless of the outcome. In many ways, sports are about stories as much as results. Victories matter, championships matter, but journeys matter too. The effort, the struggle, the determination, the willingness to keep going despite obstacles. Those qualities often resonate more deeply than final scores. Serena's Wimbledon comeback contained all of those elements. It featured hope, it featured challenge, it featured uncertainty, and it featured a legendary athlete willing to test herself once again. As the tennis world continues discussing what comes next, one thing remains clear. Serena Williams' influence remains as powerful as ever. Her matches still attract enormous attention. Her decisions still generate headlines. Her story continues inspiring people around the world. That influence cannot be measured solely by trophies or statistics. It reflects the connection she has built with fans over decades. A connection strong enough to make one Wimbledon match feel like a global event. And perhaps that is why the story continues captivating audiences. Because regardless of whether Serena wins or loses, people remain invested in her journey. They want to know what happens next. They want to hear her perspective. They want to understand how she views this latest chapter. Most importantly, they want to celebrate the remarkable career that made moments like